Perceptive readers, this is a Janesville Artistry Consultant moment. The topic that I want to talk with you today happens to deal with the love of God, how he brought the ransom sacrifice, or already since Genesis 3:15, already put into place something that was going to bring back and pay the ransom of mankind, falling into sin and losing their, once again, ability and privilege to be able to live forever. Okay. Always keep that in mind. Now, with that being said, I want to mention about karma as well. Karma, reaping what you sow. Okay. I actually did a podcast on this. I'll make sure I edit with this because I know I'm going to place this on the regular podcast, the one that goes out public. Okay. So let's talk about karma. From my understanding of karma, and I actually heard this from one of the gurus. You heard me quote him before, and I'm going to quote him again on this one, where he said that no debt in the universe goes unpaid, you see. And he emphasized that means you can do some good and you can also do bad. Whatever debt there is, it will be paid. So keep that in mind. Now, most of the time we talk about a debt or, karma, we actually view it again as something that is bad that is happening. Well, I find it also interesting that the Apostle Paul actually talked about a debt that he owed to humanity. Isn't that something? And the reason why he felt he owed a debt to humanity is because God's goodness, see, through that ransom sacrifice that covered his sins. And, a lot of the stuff that he did before he did he did not have accurate knowledge. He had a zeal for God, but he did not totally have the accurate knowledge of what Jesus was doing when he was on this earth until Jesus appeared to him himself and said, you persecuted me, Saul, which, became Paul. And so here is the whole point here. You can see once Paul received the accurate knowledge and realized, see, in his ignorance, what he was doing, persecuting the Christian congregation, what did he do? He turned around. He appreciated the love and ransom sacrifice of Jesus so much that he still said, I owe a debt to humanity to fulfill that. So that's why he preached the way that he did as well. You see? Now, this is what I want to mention still about karma and also about ignorance. See, the scriptures show clearly from Paul that when his eyes were not open, he did all sorts of things that can fall into the category of still karma, even in his ignorance. And yet he even realized he could never pay back that debt of all the bad stuff that he has ever done. And so that ransom sacrifice paid the karmic debt. Do you see that? Do you appreciate that? So let me say this again. When I talk about ignorance and when I talk about when persons have made mistakes and did this or that, you see, I'm really not making any excuses at all as far as why they did the things that they did or people do the things that they do at times. When I say in person's ignorance, sometimes they may think that they are really conscious of what they're doing, and to a point they are. But I'm here bringing out the example of Paul to show you how persons can even have a good heart, but when they have a lack of accurate knowledge, they can do and will do all sorts of things at times in that ignorance, in that subconscious state of not being spiritually awake. You see? And that's why I mentioned persons have to understand that. And now let me talk about the karmic debt again. Okay. If that is the case, that no debt goes unpaid, you see, in the universe, good or bad or what have you, well, still think about this. And this is what I want to tell you. Sometimes, I say again, who is actually placing the amount of what the debt costs? See, that's what we're dealing with today, where things are so lopsided. How many of you used to remember me saying, man, I say that, but it can be anybody, can be so heavy-handed and lopsided with what the debt really is. You see? So the point is, you can have, I'm going to use very simple terms. Imagine somebody just stealing a piece of candy that doesn't even cost 2 cents. But when the person is caught stealing that piece of candy that's only 2 cents, they end up basically the way they treat the person and say that you're going to pay for that, end up saying the person got to pay $1 million just for that 2 cents worth of piece of candy that they stolen. You see how lopsided justice is at times in the system of things. And that's what I want to really emphasize to you all today about karma and debt and things of that nature. Sometimes you can actually think that a person can do something. They can treat you real badly. They can steal from you, what have you. But then I told you the way this system has a tendency to be in this day and age, whatever you do anymore, depending on the person's setting themselves in the seat of Moses, they can end up still trying to ruin the rest of your life for something that shouldn't even be placed in that type of category or in that point. Really. And how do we know that? We see examples from Jesus forgiving things, not even judging matters. That boy, if man got a hold of it, they would have threw more than the book at it. This happened in other cases that I won't go into right now that the Bible shows. But you can really see where, again, Jesus stated, mercy triumphs over judgment. Do you get the sense of what Jesus means by that? Well, one thing for certain, you can be sure if no debt goes unpaid, then what Jesus is still saying, my ransom sacrifice paid that karmic debt. You see? So that's all I'm going to talk about for here on this day and to last throughout the weekend. Just think about it and keep doing the best you can. Okay? Have a wonderful day, Perceptive Readers. Bye-bye. You have just listened to the Perceptive Readers podcast. Remember, until next time, if you read something that encourages you to improve or enhance your life for the better, it becomes your reality.